Good morning. Our hand today is Ace King. So on this hand, we have under the gun limped, and we are in mid position. It's to us. I'll note that we have a poster on the cutoff. You post the big blind, so you can think of this as having two limpers right now. Well, what about villain two? I don't have many hands on him, 41, but he's playing 41-12. I'm going to guess that he is a loose player. You could see early position, mid position tends to be playing more hands. His limp, this is the first time he has limped from early position. He's limped first in from mid position 1 out of 3 times. I do think he's going to raise his better hands. So let's let's say that he would have raised with like jacks plus, ace, queen, maybe king, queen suited, maybe limps with his suited aces, maybe limps with the suited connectors, maybe the offset, maybe the one gappers at this point. It's 20%, so we'll say that. We don't know anything about villain 5. He just posted, but he is playing 31-6, so he is a loose passive. Same thing, button's a loose passive. If I raise, I don't expect them to call unless they have a solid hand, or at least a very speculative hand like a pocket pair or a suited ace. We don't have small blind in the hand, but we do have a big blind. Over 27 hands, he's playing 54-27, 44 2 bet. So at this point, we've got at least a limper. I don't think we're going to be doing a standard like 3 big blind raise. Even if we account for the limpers, if we do it 4 big blinds or even 5 big blinds, I don't think that is the size that we want, because I don't think we're going to really fold out everyone. I think this is a good spot to really size up. If everyone folds, so be it. That's 3 big blinds. But if we get a call, we're trying to maximize the chance that we're going to be in position against presumably loose callers. So I think we should be raising probably about 7 big blinds at this point, maybe 8 big blinds if you factor in the poster. So I only raised 5, and I'm going to say it's better that I raise 5 instead of raising to 4, but I think we should have made it larger. Villain 5's folds, and then villain 2 calls. What was my raising range? My raising range is this. I do think if since we have some posters, we could probably get rid of maybe like the mid suited aces, and maybe even these one gappers. Since we're going to make the play, I will leave the ace jack off in my range, because the ace is going to help us block it. But I think making this play and raising it larger, we want to make sure that we're not doing it too frequently. And this situation really isn't going to come up a whole lot. So I think this is going to be my raising range, and we're going to see a flop. So pre-flop range, I have 14.3%. Number of combos I have is 190. Their pre-flop range is 20.1%. They have 266 combos, and I'm going to say with my range here, if we didn't have the poster, I think I would probably include some of these suited aces and these one gappers, because it's just a single limper. But because we had one limper behind us, and because the big blind is pretty loose, I think I'm gonna have a tighter range here for me. Could be incorrect, but that's what I'm gonna do. All right, so flop is 7-5-3. Low cards, they are somewhat connected. 7 of hearts, 5 of spades, 3 of spades. It's unlikely that this hits, call it the limp caller's range. Should the limper, what's the limper going to reduce his calling? Was he going to fold some of these hands? He's playing 41-12, maybe. If he gets rid of them, I think it's these one gappers and maybe like these that he gets rid of. So let's do that. Let's say that those are the hands that he folds to the raise, which tightens up his range a little bit. But I still think he's going to be calling because that's what a lot of loose players do. All right, so we've got 7 hearts, 5 and 3. 7 hearts, 5 spades, 3 spades. My equity's at 61.1%. His equity's at 38.9%. So you can see that I figured to be ahead. Villain 2 checks, no big surprise. I don't have any donk frequency, and this board isn't necessarily a board to try to donk into. Now it's on us. What do we do? I think if I'm ahead, I'm probably I'm gonna probably be ahead on the turn. I think we have to consider what if I bet, is he going to call? Are we going to get some money in there? Can we get more money into the pot with a bet? Or is this going to be a case where he just doesn't have any hands and we have to wait for him to catch something? So first off, let's look at what kind of hands. If I see bet, what does he call? I think he calls probably top pair, over pair, probably maybe any pair at this point, because the board is so weak. And then I think he's going to be calling your flush draw, your open enders, maybe the gut shots. I think the gut shots are going to be part of some other pairs. And I think with the overcards, I think he's probably calling like these aces. So I think he's calling 56%, which is a pretty wide range. And because he's calling that high frequency, I do think we should be c betting for value. I think we're going to get called by value, and then we could always kind of evaluate on the turn. If he calls with these, and there's a high card, so anything, let's say 10 or higher, if I bet the turn, I'm going to guess he's going to fold a lot of those hands and probably fold some of the gut shots as well. So I get one street of value from those. If I check now and then the turn, whatever the turn brings, I think he can fold depending on the card. So if it's a face card or a Broadway card, I think he folds. But if it's, let's say 7, 8, 9, I think he's probably going to call, and he might even call on the river depending on the run out. I think that's kind of off. Wishful thinking, we'll say. So I kind of feel like we should be betting for value here with overpair, top pair, basically these pairs. I think even with the middle pairs and the bottom pairs, they're kind of mixed for value, and bluffs here, pocket pair below the top card, even the top pairs kind of like betting for bluffs. The overpair we're betting for value to try to get some equity. We're going to bet our flush draws, I think our gut shots, all of our gut shots, and right there you can see that we are at, about even bluff to value ratio. I think we need a few more bluffs because we're going to be able to pick up some more fold equity on the right turn card. So when we look at the, are we going to do all 2-card backdoor flush draws? I kind of feel like we should. I think we should be betting a lot. His fold to c-bet stats, we just don't have enough information on there. So I kind of think we should do 2-card backdoor flushes, and then I think with our overcards, I do think we should be betting. Oh, we can very quickly, you can see that we are very quickly getting unbalanced. think we bet when we have these hands, these offsuit hands. I think we bet them when we have like the ace of spades. When one of those is the spades, I think that's our key here. I think we're going to be betting when one of those has the spades because we know we're going to be blocked. For the spade, we're going to block the nut flush. So on a spade, we can bet and probably pick up the pot. Especially if we have the ace. Yeah, he might call with the nut, but he's going to have to worry because we know the nut flush isn't out there. I think if we have the king or queen or jack of spades and we don't have the ace, it gives him a reason to call with the flush draw. So you can see I'm betting a little bit more bluffs, but I think that's what we should do. I didn't do that, and I think that's a mistake. And I'm going to add this here. I think I should have c-bet. So even though the board is dry and unlikely to connect with villain, I think he's going to call at least once to keep me honest. Yeah, and flop is the most likely. And some turn cards will discourage call. So c-bet flop. So I think that's what we need to do. I think we need to c-bet flop here. I didn't. So let's assume that I didn't. And let's work from there. Because there are going to be some hands that I don't bet. So we're going to take those out. And go from there. So I've got just an incredibly weak range here. Nah, I'm going to take that back. I think what we are going to do is to play it as if I did make this. Because we're going to look at it. I mean, if we check this flop, then on the turn and villain bets it, we're going to be hard pressed to call unless we picked up some equity on the turn. So I think this is gonna be okay. So we'll add a note here. So my range is what I should have done. All right. That's much better. So this is what my c-bet should have looked like. Percent of previous range, that's 88.6. Number of combos that I have is 156. All right. So this is my c-bet range. And then that's mine. His, he has 100%, but I think that would have been his calling range here. So that would have been his calling range. So he has 100% of hands. So let's do this. I think I messed up this range. c-bet call range, he's got 56%. He's got 122 combos. Let's see what happens here. 6 of spades. All right, so that's actually a bad card for me. You know, I had a bunch of hands that I was c-betting with that I was hoping to pick up equity. I think any card 10 or higher, I could fire out a second barrel and probably pick up the pot, hide proportion of the time. This does help my ace of spades. You know, I now have, you know, the nut flush, but there puts 4 straight on the board. Any 4 is going to connect. Now, how likely is it the villain has a 4? He could have it. I mean, it's going to be a 4 or, yeah, 8, 9. So I think this is where things kind of went a little bit sideways for us. I think this card definitely helped the villain. And villain's going to, you know, I would have expected him to check. So if he check, you know, if we see bet and he calls and then he checks again, I think he's going to be checking with 100% of his range probably. And then that leads us to bet. I do think we're going to bet our flushes. I think we're going to bet our flushes for value. I think our nut flush draw, so like the ace, would be betting for value. Or not, I'm sorry, not for value. We're going to be betting kind of as a bluff. I think our second nut, our king, is probably also going to be betting here. But I think everything else we're probably just going to check. So you can see that I think our straight check, you know, we're going to be checking our straights or sets or 2 pair because what we don't want to have happen is we bet with a straight or a set and he raises, and he might raise. I mean, players could raise with a weaker flush, and it'll deny us equity. It'll deny our equity. So I think in this case, if he check, you know, had we c bet and we checked, or had we c bet and he calls and he checks to us on the turn, we should be betting quite a bit. Now we checked. Behind, and that allows him to bet. Now, what is he doing this with? So if he leads into us and he bet really small, he bet 1 big blind. I think he is trying to see what we have because he probably sees that a lot of people panic and will fold. They will overfold. So I think I don't think like these flushes, straight sets, 2 pair are really even going to bet that much, and possibly not even an overpair. I think this is kind of one of these weak top pair hands, you know, like set a6, and maybe not even that, but like a weak pair type bet. I think that's what he's doing that with, and maybe even a flush draw, you know, with the ace of diamond or ace of spades. You know, we showed weakness and now he's taking a stab at it, and he could be doing this as a bluff as well. So, you know, given that that's what I think he's doing this with, what is our play? You know, so what would be our play? I think we would raise. Our second barrel range is this. I think we raise with all of those, just standard, and then we would call. I think we would even call with top pair because I think we have some value. I think we fold middle pair, and then we would call like the third nut, weak flushes. I don't think the open enders give us a whole lot, but I think we're calling with all of those. Now we're gonna have to correct it. So I'm just gonna say turn range. We kind of got off. Oops, got off track. And so I'm just gonna make a note that we're gonna probably stop filling this out here. All right. So we're gonna go back to here and say he had 100% of his range at this point. So he has a lot more junky hands. I still think he's going to be betting with those hands. Now, I don't know what I had with the c-bet range, but let's say I had 100% of my range. I looked at this board and I said, I'm gonna check 100% of my range, which I don't agree with. What do I do? I think I still stand by my claim that I think we're going to be betting, or we're going to be raising our flush. I think we're going to raise our nut flush draws and our second nut flush draws. And then we're going to be calling with these hands. I don't think a weak pair. Yeah, we have a pair, but I think it's too likely that he's going to have a pair that beats us. So we're just going to call. He checks. We check it down, and we basically lose. So I think that's going to be my calling range here. And I did call, and it is really weak. I mean, I think we could probably increase the frequency or increase our bet size, but I think if I raise too much, he's going to fold a lot. The only reason I'm raising here with my flush is I'm hoping that he thinks I might be bluffing and I might be taking advantage of that small bet, and for some reason decides, hey, I'm gonna shove over the top of you to try to get you to fold. That's kind of what I would hope with the flush. If I've got the ace of spades and he does that, I can probably just I can get away with it. So three of diamonds comes out, and again, this is probably just awful. This has been an awful run out. Now all of a sudden, villain 2 bets half pot. What is he going to bet half pot with? Half pot, I think 3 of a kind bets, ace 3. He bets that size. I think 2 pair probably bets that size. So like the 7s, top pair with the 3s. I think the middle pairs, weak pairs, I think they probably check. So if he's betting stronger, I think we're going to be calling now with, we're going to raise quads and full houses. I think I should be. I think the straights we're probably just going to call, because I think if I raise, I don't envision him calling without, with anything more than the full house. I think if I raise, maybe he calls with 3 of a kind, but that's what the quads and full houses are. So we've got a straight. It kind of seems strange that he did 1 big blind and then all of a sudden half pot. But I think straights, I don't want to really turn that into a bluff, and maybe it's going to be some decent value. Over pair, I think we might be able to get a little bit of value from it. But again, I think it's going to be more likely that he has trip 3s. So I think we call with straight. I think we call with an over pair. Maybe these good 2 pair and top pair, but I think the 5, 6. Yeah, I don't think any of these weak pair. I think we're setting ourselves up to call here. I did call. Just major mistake. He shows Jack 3. I didn't have Jack 3 in his range. You can see Jack 3 of hearts. Much tighter range, but I kind of go, and I showed ace king, and the question is, why the hell did I do this? How did I play? This is just a bad hand overall. I think once he played, I think we're gonna have to take a note on this player that he limp call from under the gun with Jack 3 hearts, right? Flop checks. Donk turn on 7 hearts, 6 spade, 5 spades, 3 spades, board. There we go. Yeah, this is just a bad hand. Bad hand all around. I missed my c-bet. I think if the c-bet comes out, he might call. He'll probably call with that. The 6 comes out. We're gonna probably have to check because that doesn't improve our equity at all. I don't think it really improves our fold equity at all. And then when he leads into us, which I expect him to do on the river, it's an easy fold. So if we go back to the flop, we invested what we have. So 5 big blinds, and then we bet, at least half pot here, 6 big blinds. So we have 11 big blinds invested. That's probably what we should do, and you'll see that it's less than what we put out here. So this is a very bad hand on my part. Gonna take some notes, remember, and just realize that I have a decent hand. I had backdoor flush draw, and that was good enough for a c-bet, especially thinking that this player's probably going to call with any pair, and then we've got any 10 or higher, we could fire a second barrel. And even if we fire that second barrel and he calls, we still have out. So if an ace or king comes on the river, we could still then have some value with the river bet. So bad hand. Hopefully you learned something from this. If you do, look tomorrow for another hand.